I know at some point in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm sure we'll make fun of Dave Rubin at some point. I know people are anxious about that, so I just want to promise it's going to happen. Don't worry. I've got my
I
Puma
wouldn't
hoodie
expect
on. I'm
anything less.
relaxed. I'm ready to make fun of that guy. But first, I want to get Anna's opinion on something more important, and that is basically how AOC is doing, because I think she's crushing it, and I think all of the drama she's creating and all of the whining and particularly this Politico piece, exasperated Democrats try to rein in Ocasio-Cortez is like proof of concept of how she's handling Congress.
I think the job she's doing right now is better than even I could have predicted or expected. There's always this fear that someone would run on a hyper progressive platform, and then as soon as they get elected and as soon as they get a little taste of what it's like to be in Congress, they might change course even a little bit. And what I love is that she hasn't changed course at all. If anything, she's become a lot more aggressive in holding the Democratic Party accountable. I love the fact that she keeps getting attacked by the left and the right. And the way she handles those attacks is pretty incredible, because rather than letting it get under her skin, rather than getting angry about it and kind of lashing out, she handles it with a sense of humor that I think leads to more people liking her and being more open to what her ideas are. So she's not only crushing it when it comes to the policy front, she's crushing it when it comes to fighting back against the critics.
100%. And the other thing too that's interesting to me is I feel like she's also like, I think especially people like us, like anybody probably from like mid 30s to like late 20s, but like if you got any whiff of like whether it was Obama when he was first elected, and that definitely meant a lot for a lot of different reasons, and also like that optimism like people had around like the Arab uprisings in 2011, like these technologies are so amazing, they democratize politics, blah blah blah, and then we know that actually they really don't. And in fact, like if
Mm-hmm.
anything, we could correlate Facebook with a global rise of fascism. And these platforms lead to a lot of like useless arguments and a lot of actually much more pernicious things. But what I find fascinating is like she's actually bringing some of that back. Like not in the same like diluted way it was before, but she's actually showing you, like you said, this is actually how somebody with actual institutional power can use the democracy of social media to engage and accumulate like even more capital.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think technology is like anything else. It's a mixed bag. It could be used as a weapon or it could be used as a tool where you directly communicate with your constituents and with voters and make sure that they're aware of the inner workings of Congress, what's really going on. And I think that politicians, particularly, Lieberman, who went after AOC just last week,
Lieberman.
see that as a giant threat. And
Right.
I'm so amused by it. I've read quotes from the Democratic Party arguing that, she really needs to make a decision about whether or not she wants to govern or be a Twitter star. And so they minimize the very positive impact of her social media engagement with her constituents, with American voters. And I love that they're threatened by that. I love the fact that they hate how influential she is. And what's also really incredible is her, let's say, the fact that she pushes for an increase in the top marginal tax rate. I mean, that's not something that you would ever expect anyone on the right to be in favor of. But after she made that point on 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper, all of a sudden you see Tucker Carlson. I mean, I don't trust him, but he goes on his show, goes on this long monologue about corporate greed.
Right.
Then you see people like Ann Coulter supporting a wealth tax in reference to what AOC said during that interview. And, I don't agree with those people at all when it comes to pretty much everything else. But the fact that she managed to get that talking point front and center in the American public's consciousness, and the fact that now you have people really discussing, the possibility of doing something like that is incredible. And she's so likable. I think that it's ridiculous that needs to be an important part of a politician, but it is an
Yeah,
important
it
part
is.
because
Right.
if Americans can relate to her and they can trust her, then they're much more open to considering her proposals and ideas.
100%. And I also think like what's interesting to me is like I think particularly Tucker Carlson and Ann Coulter are basically like they're playing the authoritarian right-wing populist game. And part of that
Mhm.
means like, I mean, right? Like exploiting some legitimate grievances and then like off-ramping it into xenophobia as an example. But what's interesting is like,
Mhm.
especially Tucker, and I don't know as much about Ann Coulter because fuck Ann Coulter, but Tucker like never, um, and so all those segments, like we played one the other day where he's like complaining about capitalism actually, but then all of a sudden it becomes
Mhm.
about like, kids are smoking too much weed and they look vacant or whatever the hell he's talking about. And when she does that though, it's like, well, here's some actual teeth. Like instead of just pivoting to the racism, like here's an actual proposal which Trump's never going to support, no Republicans are going to ever support because they're an oligarch party. Most Democrats won't support it. But those are some like actual markers. And the same way that like Bernie Sanders did that for Medicare for all, she's doing that with just like marginal tax rates, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And just quickly touching on Tucker's monologue about corporate greed. I mean, he comes at it from a very different perspective than I would. I mean, his whole spiel is about the importance of maintaining the nuclear American family. He's
Right.
very much concerned about how, there's a ton of single mothers in the United States, and he thinks that it's directly caused by corporate greed, the fact that manufacturing jobs have been, exported to other countries. And since these men are losing manufacturing jobs, women are less likely to marry them. And that's leading to all sorts of social grief here in the United States. I mean, yes, I'm sure that there's some value to that argument, but really the heart of the issue here is that we can't pay our bills.
Right.
Like we're not able to provide for our families, that our wages have remained stagnant, and we need to do something to mitigate that, to solve that problem. And so I think that he's genuine in seeing this as an issue. And yes, I do think he's pandering in this populist way, kind of similar to what Trump did. But I do think that he's genuine in being concerned about how low wages and a lack of jobs is negatively impacting Americans throughout the country.
You just enjoyed that Michael Brooks Show video, and you can get a lot more by subscribing to us here at the Michael Brooks Show YouTube channel. It's literally right there.